As always, I'm here to talk you through what you should be listening to for the year, the previous month, and every month I highlight the previous month. This time I'm going to be looking at May. This year is going ridiculously quickly. We're already at June. Mid-year lists won't be that far away either, which is insane to me, but that's how calendars work. Quite a few to get through this time around. I want to start with Tigran Hamasyan, who is a jazz artist who is ridiculously overlooked. I wouldn't say he's underrated, because I think a lot of people that know him tend to praise him incredibly highly, but I'd say overlooked because when you look at the jazz world at the moment and all of the artists that get a lot of acclaim, I'm thinking of artists like Kamasi Washington, I'm thinking of The Comet Is Coming, Sons of Kemet, anyone really at the moment that's just getting acclaim in the jazz world. You've got to think that Tigran Hamasyan has to be in the conversation, and yet he never is, but his consistency has been remarkable. And honestly, his newest album, I would say, is his best to date, which is why I want to be gushing all over it, giving you guys this as a recommendation, because I know you nerds out there love your jazz, so why you're not listening to this, I do not know. But if you want a taster for what kind of music you're getting, play the track Bigfoot. I'm telling you, man, really good. Next, have to mention Kendrick Lamar, one of the biggest albums of the month. It really made a huge splash. There was a huge hoo-ha debate about how it didn't sell enough numbers and all that kind of shit on the first week, and the first week numbers are embarrassing and all that kind of stuff. I don't know why people really care about that kind of thing. Of course, it's nice to see an artist do well and sell well. And yeah, to be fair, maybe you'd expect Kendrick to do bigger numbers, but without really a proper single or even any huge push for the album, I think the numbers that it got was really pretty impressive. But the album itself is really good. It's definitely a step up from Damn, without a doubt, in my opinion. I still find Damn very disappointing, but this album doesn't have a song as bad as Loyalty on it, so at least I can take solace in that. No, but for real, it's got some of his most personal writing to date, his most insightful writing to date, and has some bangers as well. Very inspired by some Baby Keem across this album, and also inspired by the usual you'd expect from Kendrick. Yeah, it's not perfect, and I wouldn't even put it up there with his best. The best being Good Kid, Mad City and To Pimp a Butterfly, in my opinion, but I certainly think it deserves to be in the conversation, and it has some fantastic work all over this. So yeah, it's a good album. They Hate Change next, one of the most exciting hip-hop duos I've come across in quite some time. The most excited I've been for a hip-hop group probably since Injury Reserve. When I first discovered Injury Reserve, I got so hyped for what they were doing. They're doing very different styles, of course. They're not really anything like Injury Reserve, but it's just that feeling you get with a new small duo slash group, duo trio hip-hop sort of act. Brockhampton was different because that was more of like a huge collective and felt bigger than just really a duo or a trio, because it was like 55 million members, of course. But no, when you're looking at the kind of beats that these guys are rapping over, sure, lyrically I think they could work on what they're doing, but what they're choosing in terms of production is just so fresh and unique for modern hip-hop, and just feels like the right direction for a lot of hip-hop to be going in. I feel like these guys can become some trendsetters as long as they start to get bigger, and as long as their music crosses over to more people. Yeah, I think more people will be looking at this and thinking, yeah, I need to do the same with my hip-hop music too. I don't talk about enough metal on this channel, and I'm pretty sure every year when I do eventually review a metal album, I go, I should be reviewing more metal, and I still never managed to fulfill that requirement that I give myself. But gospel, 17 years. And this is fantastic. You could even argue it might be as good as that first album. I wouldn't mind you saying that. I think it could easily be in that conversation. It's so good. Wow, they just sound like they've just, been around for a couple of years, and this is their next album. But to have such a gap and the quality be this good, oh, it's unheard of. It really is. And they sound so fantastic. The production is stellar. The vocals at times are creepy, eerie, and absolutely intense, and it's so good. What an album. Another album to mention, Feiertag, who is an electronic producer and has blown me away with this album here. This is one of the most exciting house albums I've heard in quite some time, and there's been a lot of great ones over the years, especially since about 2019, 2020. That was really when I was finding so much wonder in the genre of house and electronic music. But goddamn, Dive. I mean, if you're a fan of Nicholas Jar, Fortet, Daniel Avery, anyone in the field, this album could go head to head with those guys. Seriously, it's that good. The track I Need You and Cala, holy shit, they are good. The blissfulness, oh man, and the success rate of this album, holy shit, the amount of times someone's messaged me and said, hey, check this album out because you recommended it, and it's amazing. And I'm just sat there like, wow, this is really crossing over to a lot more people than usual compared to other reviews that I do. Jesus, shout out to Josh as well for putting me on this. Josh is a legend at finding these kinds of albums, and I have to shout him out because this is no find of mine. It is a find of Josh's, but I'm here to give it to you people and hope you like it as much as me because it's so good. Even after all that praise, it's not ended up being album of the month, would you believe? But no, the album of the month for me, for May, has got to be Everything, Raw, Data, Feel. I'm so impressed with this. Their last couple of albums have been lacking. They've been alright, I'll give it them. They've not been bad albums, they've been decent, but they've been lacking. And they just, at the right time, decided to freshen things up and go for something different. They've produced it themselves this time around. They're trying some weird stuff with the lyrics in terms of just auto-generated AI lyrics that are just baffling and wacky, which brings me back to the Get to Heaven days of their wackiness. That album wasn't auto-generated with any lyrics, but there was wackiness in the lyrics. And not only that, they haven't just repeated what they did on that album musically, they've gone a bit more electronic, and they've kind of gone a bit more new wave as well with some of the tracks. And it just feels like the perfect amount of change to not feel like they're detracting from what makes their identity so good to begin with. But instead, it just lifts their music ever so slightly in the right direction and just makes me feel like I'm listening to something a bit new from them. Even though it's not even a huge change, but it ever so slightly. And it's so good. It's so good. Tracks like Teletype are so catchy. Jennifer is wonderful. Leviathan as well. There's some heartbreaking tracks on here as well. There's some baffling moments like Pizza Boy. There's some exciting moments like Cut Up. The grooves, the rhythms. This is one of the best albums of the year, and I'm so happy because I've always championed these guys, but it just felt as though they dropped a little bit, you know, they fell a little bit under. Like Get to Heaven was like, you know, the first half of the season where Salah was scoring every bloody goal you could imagine in the Premier League and the Champions League, and then once you got to the AFCON and after that, he kind of dipped, and I feel like, you know, Get to Heaven was that, and then he dips into the next two albums. But then maybe next season Salah will bring it back up and that will be Raw Data Feel. That is not a very good analogy, but if you are a football fan, maybe you understand what I'm saying and maybe it makes sense. So yeah, album of the month, easily one of the best albums of the year, and surprised and happy as well. Similarly with my last album of the month for April, which was Jack White, where there was just that surprise element of not quite expecting me to love it as much as I did. And May, we've got it again, so maybe June will be another album like that. Who's to say? Who knows? But thank you for watching as always. Tell me your favourites of the month. What's going to play out next is my songs of the month, so don't click off the video yet because that is going to start right now.
Wow, that's hot. This hell is better with you. We're burning up together, baby. That makes two.
Limbs rendered birds by the speed they flew off. A soup nothingness that once was your best friend. 50 all of my